Herbert, and I am a junior at Whitman College. Last night was Halloween, and I was dressed as the Tin Man. I hope you all had a wonderful and safe and super fun night. But one of the most iconic Halloween characters is Frankenstein, and I thought I would read a book about his origins and his creator. So today we're going to be reading Mary Who Wrote Frankenstein. Here's a little cast of characters. How does a story begin? Sometimes it begins with a dream. Here is Mary. She's a dreamer. The kind of girl who wanders alone, who stares at clouds, who imagines things that never were. Mary has a name for her daydreams. She calls them castles in the air. Mary loves stories too. She tries to write the kind that she reads, but the stories she sees in daydreams are the most thrilling of all. And where does she go to read and dream? She goes to a graveyard and sits at her mother's grave. Mary's mother was a great thinker. She wrote books to say that women should have the same rights as men. She died when Mary was only 11 days old. Can you miss someone you've never known? Mary does. Mary's father is also a thinker. He taught Mary to read by tracing the letters on her mother's gravestone. Mary loves her father, but he can be strict and stiff. And when he's upset with her, he grows cold and silent until she cries. Before very long, he marries again. Mary doesn't like the new wife. The new wife doesn't like Mary either. Famous people visit their London home. Philosophers, artists, scientists, writers. One night at a party, a writer named Samuel Taylor Coleridge recites a strange, eerie poem, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. Mary loves such poems, but she has been sent to bed. She so badly wants to listen that she hides behind a sofa. She and her stepsister shiver with fear at the spine-tingling tale of a ship full of ghosts. For the rest of her life, Mary will remember this night, and she will never forget that poem. Mary is angry and unhappy at home, and she shows it. By the time she's 14, she has become a big problem. Her father sends her away to live with a family of strangers in Scotland. The family is kind. Mary likes them. As she wanders the barren hills, she can let her imagination roam free. But at 16, when she returns to her family, she is still a big problem. And what does she do next? She becomes an even bigger problem. She runs away with a brilliant young poet. Her stepsister Claire goes along too. The poet's name is Percy Bysshe Shelley. Like Mary, he's a dreamer. Mary's family is horrified. With very little money, the young people travel in Europe by horse and donkey and on foot. They also take a boat down the Rhine River. One day the boat ties up near a ruined castle. It's called Castle Frankenstein. Such an interesting name. Does it stick in Mary's mind? But it's on their next trip together, 18 months later, that things get really interesting. On this trip, Mary, Shelley, and Claire travel to Switzerland, where they make friends with a famous poet. Lord Byron is the most famous poet in the world. He's also famous for being handsome. He's staying in a beautiful house beside Lake Geneva. On breezy spring days, they can go sailing. But summer brings mysterious storms. Dark clouds rumble and churn. One evening comes the wildest storm of all. Lightning rips the sky, thunder booms, rain lashes the house beside the lake. Inside, 5 people sit huddled beside the fire. 2 young women, 2 poets, and medical doctor. The doctor is a friend of Lord Byron. His name is John Polidori, and he loves to write. What can such people do on a night like this? Only one thing. It's a night made for ghost stories. Byron opens a book of ghoulish stories called Phantasmagoriana. In the flickering firelight, he begins to read. As others listen, their mouths go dry, their scalps prickle, their hair stands up. They can almost see the ghostly apparitions dancing on the walls. Such is the power of a scary story on a stormy night. At the end of the evening, Byron suggests a contest. We will each write a ghost story, he says. Whose will be the best? Remember now who was in this room. 2 brilliant poets, one of them famous, a doctor, 2 very young women. Mary's only 18. And what happens next? Well, according to Mary, Shelley and Byron begin their stories right away, and so does Polidori. Do you have an idea? They ask Mary. No, she says. Every night, every day, they ask her again. Have you thought of a story? No, she says. Figure 1, figure 2, figure 3. Shelley and Byron get bored. They stop writing stories. They start to plan a sailing tour around the lake instead. And they talk one evening, as they've been talking all summer, about new discoveries in science, exciting experiments. Electricity can make the muscles of a dead frog twitch. Could it bring a dead creature to life? The idea is both thrilling and frightening. Mary listens. Later, she goes to bed, but she can't fall asleep. Instead, in that strange lost time between wake and sleep, she has a kind of daydream. She sees a hideous monster made of dead body parts, stretched out and coming to life. The scientist who made the monster is so scared at what he's done, he runs away. Mary opens her eyes, frightened. She tries to forget what she imagined. She tries to think up a ghost story instead. Then, with a sudden jolt of excitement, she understands. She already found her ghost story, the monster coming to life. That is a story she will write. Finally, she has her idea. The next morning, she sits down and writes these words. It was on a dreary night of November. The writing of Frankenstein has begun. It takes 9 more months of daydreaming and writing for Mary to finish her story. 2 publishers say no to publishing it. A 3rd publisher finally agrees to make it into a book. The first people who read Frankenstein are sure it was written by Percy Shelley. They don't believe young Mary could have done it. How could a girl like her come up with such a story? But maybe you know. She wrote a scary story about a scientist named Victor Frankenstein who brought a dead creature to life and then became frightened at what he had done. Scary story, Frankenstein, dead creature, scientific change. Where did such ideas come from? And how do they come together? In a writer's imagination, in a dream. Writers dream stories, awake and asleep. Over 200 years have passed since that night beside the lake, and everywhere around the world, people know Mary's book. It has become a legend. It may be the greatest scary story of all time. And now you know how it started. It began with a girl named Mary. She liked to daydream and imagine, and she grew up to write Frankenstein. Here's an author's note about Mary Shelley, and I'll click through this slowly, so if you want to read it, you can pause it or have a guardian in your life read it for you. It was lovely talking to you all. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you had a wonderful Halloween. Happy November. Stay safe. Thank you for reading with me.